It seems like it's really a conversation about China.
So there are kind of two things. One, we have a trade problem, and that problem is trade deficits, and it's having all the bad effects that I said on our people and on the wealth of our country generally. That is a problem that has to be resolved. Connected but independent of that is the question of the geopolitical competition with China. So I always start with you're either on one side or the other. And I put people in like three categories, Tucker. There are people that study the issue, and I'm going to go through the kind of litany in a minute. But to set it up, there are people that study this issue and say China is an existential threat to America. They are an adversary, and we have to make change. And I'm in that group. There's another group that studies it and says China is an existential threat. They're an adversary, but we don't need to do anything because it'll all kind of be resolved through this or that. That's a group that was very popular in the 90s. It doesn't really exist anymore. I call it the unicorn group, right? People who have kind of been proven wrong, that it's just you have to do something. The third group are people that study it and conclude that there isn't a problem. China's not an adversary and there's no existential threat. That group is all invested in China, right? So you can kind of divide the world when you're talking to someone, which of these three groups are you in? If you're in the last group, then you're basically a compromised person because no rational person can look at the data, look at the facts and conclude that China is not a threat and an adversary. So let's look at
Wait, can I suggest a fourth group?
What's that?
Might be people who look at the current situation and say, yes, China's an adversary. Yes, China's economy is larger than ours. Yes, the future belongs to China. We're not equipped for a confrontation with China, either economically or militarily. And so we have to kind of figure out how to deal with the inevitable.
So yeah, this is kind of the defeatist caucus, right? The one that is all over for the world. I generally find that group has a very large overlap with group 3 that I articulated.
Right. The people invested in China.
The people invested in China that are already going to make money. But for sure, there are people, but I always say to them, you can't say do nothing in the face of a crisis. If you say do nothing in the face of a crisis, then I have not convinced you that we have a crisis. Because it's irrational if you accept the fact that it's a crisis to say do nothing. That's not a rational.
Well, it's kind of lie back and think of England kind of thing, like it's going to happen. So
while England slept, yeah.